was a kid, I dreamed of having a Fender guitar. And I saw all my favorite Guitar Heroes playing Telecasters on...
In country music, some love stories are sung in ballads, others play out on stage, and most, we know, end in headlines. But the story of Marty Stuart and Connie Smith? That's something else entirely. It's a Nashville legend that's been whispered about for decades, feeling more like a fairy tale than real life. For years, their romance has been one of country's most cherished, yet private, love stories. We've all heard the tale of the wide-eyed 12-year-old boy who promised his mom he'd one day marry the enchanting singer he saw on stage. But what about the decades that followed? What happened in the silent years between that childhood vow and the day they finally said, "I do"? Now, at 66, Marty Stuart is finally sharing the deeply personal story of the patience, faith, and unwavering love that turned a childhood dream into a country music reality. This is the story of what was hidden in the silence. The year was 1970, in the small town of Philadelphia, Mississippi. The local Choctaw Indian Fair was on, and for the Stuart family, this was a huge deal. Hilda Stuart, a massive country fan, was taking her son Marty to see her absolute favorite singer, Connie Smith. In their house, Connie wasn't just a star, she was royalty. Marty would prop her album, Miss Smith Goes to Nashville, on the stereo and just stare at the cover, mesmerized. At just 11 years old, Marty was already a musical prodigy touring with a gospel group. He lived and breathed music. And to him, Connie Smith's voice was the purest thing he'd ever heard. It wasn't just pretty, it had a weight to it, a truth he could feel in his bones. This wasn't just a concert, it was a pilgrimage. To make sure his idols saw him, he had his mom buy him a bright yellow shirt. The logic was simple, a shirt that loud she couldn't miss him. When Connie walked onto that stage, Marty's world stopped. After the show, he and his sister managed to get a quick photo with her, but for Marty that wasn't enough. He saw Connie sitting in a car, and armed with his mom's camera and all the courage a kid in a yellow shirt could find, he ran over. "Miss Smith, can I take your photograph?" he asked. She graciously said yes. He put the camera lens right up to her face and clicked. It was the first photograph he ever remembers taking. For Connie, then a 28-year-old star with a complex life, it was probably just another sweet moment with a fan. But for Marty, it was life-altering. On the car ride home, he turned to his mom and made a declaration that sounded impossible. "I'm going to marry Connie Smith someday," he said. His family laughed, thinking it was just a cute, childish fantasy. But Marty wasn't joking. It was a promise he made to himself, a quiet vow that would lie dormant for 25 long years, waiting for destiny to catch up. While Marty held on to his vow, life moved on. The two stars, one established, one rising, walked completely separate paths, full of the highest highs and lowest lows the music industry can deliver. Connie Smith was already a giant. Her 1964 debut, Once a Day, hit #1 and stayed there for 8 weeks, a record for a female artist that stood for nearly 50 years. She was a Grand Ole Opry staple and a Grammy nominee. But behind the scenes, her life was complicated. She grew up in a large blended family, and her childhood was scarred by her father's abusive alcoholism. Music was her escape. Her personal life was just as rocky. By the time Marty made his vow, she'd already been through the pain of multiple divorces. Her faith was her anchor, but the chaos of fame wore on her. So in the late 1970s, Connie did the unthinkable. She walked away. She mostly retired to raise her 5 children and focus on her Christian faith. She wasn't chasing hits, she was chasing peace. Meanwhile, Marty Stuart was just getting started. A year after meeting Connie, the 12-year-old prodigy was already playing professionally. By his teens, he was on the road with bluegrass legend Lester Flatt, and later he joined Johnny Cash's band, touring the world and even marrying Johnny's daughter, Cindy Cash, for 5 years. In the late 80s, Marty's solo career exploded with hits like Hillbilly Rock and Tempted. He became a star in his own right, known for his flashy suits and his deep respect for country tradition. Through all the fame, the awards, and the tours, one thing never changed: his reverence for Connie Smith. In interviews, he'd always call her the greatest female voice in country music, and he'd always add, "Still is." He even carried an old photograph of her from the 60s, tucked inside his guitar case, a quiet reminder of the promise he'd made. While Connie lived a private life, Marty was publicly keeping her legacy alive, making sure no one forgot the Queen. Decades after that day at the fair, their paths were finally set to cross again. It was the mid-90s, and Marty was now a respected Grammy winner. Connie, after years of semi-retirement, was thinking about making a new album, but only if she could do it with someone who truly understood her sound. The choice was obvious: Marty Stuart. They began working together on what would become her 1998 self-titled album, Connie Smith. And as they worked, something else started to happen. They found an effortless rhythm as songwriters, crafting dozens of songs together. The professional respect quickly deepened into a powerful personal connection. For Marty, this was everything he'd been waiting for. He thought about Connie constantly. The 17-year age difference, which seemed like a canyon when he was a boy, now felt completely meaningless. But he was terrified. How do you tell the legend you've idolized your entire life that you're in love with her? So Marty did what he'd always done when he needed advice. He called his mom. Hilda, the same woman who'd bought him the yellow shirt, listened as her son poured his heart out. This time, she didn't laugh. She gave him simple, direct advice. You have to tell her. The moment came in the most normal place imaginable, a grocery store. Marty saw Connie, and this time, he wasn't a starstruck kid. He was a man who knew what he wanted. He walked up to her, told her how he felt, and then, right there, he quietly pulled her in for a kiss. The childhood vow, whispered in a car decades earlier, had finally been spoken out loud. The professional collaboration had officially become a romance. That kiss was a turning point, but it wasn't an easy path to the altar. After 3 divorces, Connie had sworn off marriage completely. It wasn't just a whim. It came from years of real disappointment. She had walked away from fame to find peace, and she was fiercely protective of the quiet life she had built. To let someone new in required a level of trust she wasn't ready to give. For Marty to win her heart, he had to prove he was different. And he did. He understood her past and her pain. He didn't try to fix her. He just tried to understand her. This profound respect became the foundation of their courtship. He never pushed. He respected her boundaries and her pace. The 17-year age gap had the gossip columns buzzing, but Marty's love was quiet, steady, and loyal. Their relationship grew in the small moments, in church pews, sharing their deep faith, and in the comfortable silence between two people who just got each other. Marty was patient, letting the relationship unfold day by day. He wasn't the fanboy with a crush anymore. He was a partner and a friend. He showed her his love wasn't about possessing a legend. It was about cherishing a woman. The public was fascinated, especially by the age difference, which flipped the typical Nashville script. When asked, Marty just brushed it off, saying it never mattered to him. He'd loved her since he was a kid, and in his eyes, she was just as beautiful as the day he first saw her. They were connected by something deeper than years. They both knew the highs of fame and the lows of loneliness, and both were grounded by a powerful faith. Slowly but surely, Marty's patient devotion melted Connie's resistance. She saw a man who loved her for exactly who she was, scars and all. After a 3-year courtship, Connie Smith did the one thing she swore she'd never do again. She opened her heart completely. On July 8, 1997, 27 years after making his childhood vow, Marty Stuart married Connie Smith. But their wedding was nothing like a typical Nashville event. They didn't want the cameras or the industry execs. Instead, they traveled to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota, a place with deep spiritual meaning for Marty. There, in a traditional Lakota ceremony, they said their vows. As Marty later wrote, "Marrying Connie is, without question, the greatest event of my life." 2 hours beyond sunset, Connie and I went up on a hill to dance with the wind. Out in the distance, a lightning storm flashed in all directions, making not a sound. God performed a light show for us that evening that was beyond words. Their union was built on a foundation of faith, respect, and hard-earned wisdom. They made a deal to leave the star at the gate and prioritize their private life. Their partnership flowed into their music, with Marty producing Connie's albums, not to change her sound, but to protect it. The boy from Mississippi hadn't just married the girl of his dreams, he had become the man who was worthy of her. Their happily ever after wasn't a fairy tale free of struggle. It was a real-life test of their vows, in sickness and in health. For years, their life was a picture of creative harmony. They built a home that was a sanctuary and even added a small gospel chapel on their property, a private place to connect with their faith. But behind the scenes, a storm was gathering as Connie began to face serious health issues. This is where Marty's love was truly tested. He transformed into a devoted caregiver, dramatically cutting back on his own touring and career to be by her side. Their life was rearranged around her needs, a quiet, private struggle that cemented the true strength of their bond. Then, in February 2021, at the height of the pandemic, Connie contracted COVID-19. It quickly became severe. She was rushed to the hospital with pneumonia and sepsis, fighting for her life. Due to restrictions, Marty couldn't even be in the room with her. All he could do was wait and pray. Miraculously, Connie pulled through, a testament to her incredible resilience. But the battle took its toll. In the years since, fans have noticed that Connie's appearances are less frequent. When she does perform, she often needs to sit on a stool, her energy visibly lessened. A 2025 performance at the Ellis Theater left many in the audience with a sense that they were witnessing something fragile and precious, a performance filled with both beauty and vulnerability. Through it all, Marty has been her constant. At 66, he's not just the keeper of country music's flame. He's the keeper of Connie Smith. His recent willingness to talk about their journey isn't for headlines. It's a testament to a love that has endured fame, time, and incredible hardship. It's about honoring the woman he calls the heart of his world. The love story of Marty Stuart and Connie Smith is so much more than a childhood promise. It's a story of destiny, deep faith, and a patience that seems almost impossible in our fast-paced world. It's about two legends who found a sanctuary from the spotlight in each other. Marty's words have finally filled in the silent parts of their legend, revealing a love strong enough to bridge a 17-year age gap and resilient enough to face down devastating illness. Their story proves that the greatest love isn't about grand gestures. It's about quiet prayers in a private chapel, a husband sitting with his wife through her pain, and the promise to always show up, especially when it's hard. Theirs is a rare and beautiful ballad of devotion, a love that is real, enduring, and true. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe for more stories about the legends of country music.